Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. This set of video focuses on the database category of LeetCode. The programming language always says the type of the SQL we're going to use here is MySQL. We will solve one of the questions per day, and I'm going to provide all the videos around like 1 month. So if you spend around like 10 minutes per day, then you could get one more technical skills on my resume. I believe that is worth it. So before we directly go to the target on today's problem, let's have a quick look at the LeetCode dashboard. We could find that there are around like 42 questions in total. Some people may wondering, is this amount of problems enough for us? Because compared with algorithms, they almost have around like 900 questions in total. Okay, then based on my experience, after I practiced these questions at least 3 to 4 times in total, I am pretty confident to take any SQL-related problems within interview. If you are trying to find a job related with data, like data analysis, business analysis, data scientist towards analysis direction, you will always meet the questions with SQL perspective. I took interview with both small companies and big companies, through startups to like McKinsey, Google, Amazon, or even Facebook. Based on my previous experience, I am confident to say that the main target for practice is not to say 10,000 of questions, but is to fully understand the knowledge and the logic back behind the database itself. So I wish after reviewing this set of video, I could help you to get a better understanding on SQL and its related interview questions. So now let's see today's question, which is number 175. The title is Combine Two Table. So on this one, we first say that there are two tables in this problem. So one is called person and another is called the address. Within the person table, we have 3 columns. One is a person ID, then the second one is the first name, and then the last name. The person ID would be the primary key column for this table. And for the address, we have 4 columns: address ID, person ID, city, and the state. So the address ID would be the primary key column for this table. And what the problem asks is about like you need to write a SQL query for a report that provides the following information for each person in the person table. So based on this statement, we should keep the primary key along with the first table. And then the second one is that we need to have the output with the first name, last name, city, and state. So far we're going to find where is these categories. So for the first name and last name, they are both in the first table, which is called the person, and first name, last name. So for the second part, it's called like city and state. So if we want to find the city and state, they are in the table 2, which is called the address, and city and state. So before we directly writing this SQL query, we could have a better understanding of the problems. So I make some examples here. If I have a table like person, I have 3 columns. And for the person ID, I have the data type with int, which means that will be a number. And for the first name and last name, the data type is a character, which means there are some strings. And for the second table, we have 4 columns. The first 2 are with data type of int, so they are both numbers. So for the the third and the fourth columns, the data type of both of these 2 columns are character, so we are using like the strings, and that is very obvious that for city we have a city name, and for state we have a state name. So when we have these 2 tables, we are going to combine them together and choose what we want. So before we combine, we are record our previous description here. we have to provide the following information for each person in the persons table. So for each person, the primary key is a person ID. Then when we go back, we would want to keep the person table as before, and we want to join the address table. So this type of join we normally will use is left join. So we left join the address table to the person. We will keep the person table exactly same as what it has, and join the address table. So when we join, we always want to find a link between these two tables. And we found that for the column of person ID, this is the only thing we could find that we could make a link of these two tables. So when we do the left join, we will make the join based on the person's table's person ID is equals to the address table's person ID. And for here, normally, as I said earlier, the left part will be exactly same as the table itself. But for us, if we want to fully understanding the left join, I make a change on this person ID. So instead of just writing like the person ID as 1, 2, 3, 4, I change the sequence of the person ID. I make it as 1, 3, 4, 2. So when we join the address table, it's not simply just attach it to the left part. We have to find like if the person ID is same or not. For example, for here, for the second row, the original second row of the address table is 26 Washington, D.C. But for here, we are going to write is not 26 Washington, D.C. What we are going to write is 36 Seattle, Washington. So why is that? Because for the left part, the person ID here is 3, so we need to go back to the table named address, and we want to find the person ID with 3. So here, the person ID is equals to 3, so we want to extract the information about the other 3 columns, which is 36, Seattle, and Washington, and we fill these informations into the joined table. So for the second row, instead of writing the second row in the address table, we are going to write the this part within the 36, Seattle, and Washington, and similar for the person ID 4 and person ID 2. So this is how we understand these problems in a table. Then let's go back and going to write this one. So when we write the SQL, we always put the select at the very beginning, but we're not going to write it so far because we're not know if we have any middle table, or we rename it, or we have some filters, whatever. So we are going to do is we're starting with from. So we're from the table, and we're doing a left join as we said earlier. So from the table, which is the table's name is called like a person. And when we do the joint, I normally will rename it because for the table itself, the table's name may be longer and hard to read and remember. So I will rename it as table 1, which I put here is TB1, and then I will do a left join. Left join with the table address, which I will write here, and also rewrite as table 2, which is TB2. And we will have a link to link these two tables together. And as we figured out earlier, we will put the person ID as a link. So we'll do is tb1.personid is equals to the tb2.personid. And after, because this problem is very easy, so we just need to combine these two tables together. So for the first line, we're going to select the output what we want. So there are 4 columns we want, which is the first name, last name, city, and state. So for here, we will choose table 1, which have the first name. And for here, normally the column name within each table is not necessary to be the output column name. So we could also rename the column name of each table to what we are going to use in the output table. So to make it more clear, I put the table 1 dot first name as the first name. Similar, we will do table 1 dot last name as last name, and then we are going to include the city and the state. So table 2 dot city as the city, and table 2 dot the state as state. So after all of these things, I think I did all the job here, but never forget to add a semicolon here, because sometimes even if you write all the things correct, but you forget the semicolon, then you might fail your interview. So let's submit this code and see if it is correct or not. Okay, I think our submission is correct, and that shows success here. And SQL is not as the same as the algorithms, so we're not going to find the best performance. Sometimes we are just going to find the right answer, and like for this problem is very simple, so we're not going to do some optimization or trying some other ways to solve this problem. So I think that's it for today, and thanks for watching my video. If you like my video, please subscribe me or just like me. Thank you so much and have a good day.